this is another episode of Discharged and Unfiltered. I'm JJ Hardy. We have Trevor and John here as well. And thank you for everybody who shows up now and later.
None of us get last names, just you.
Yeah, just him.
Oh,
that's all that
sorry.
matters.
JJ Hardy, Trevor Greenberg, and John Kirchhoff. And today we're going to be talking about an interesting one. And actually, most people probably don't even know this happens, but we're going to be talking about why veterans isolate.
I love it. I don't love veterans isolating. I love the topic.
Well, this is part of the invisible stuff that happens with us. I mean, we may be happy-go-lucky and super social when we're in front of people, or at least we make it seem like we're super social in front of people.
Speak for yourself.
you're just a jerk all the time. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I've been told.
Fair enough.
You
never. Well, but it's that stuff that goes on behind the curtain that nobody sees, and it happens. And isolation is a terrible thing. I know I went through, especially when I transitioned from service, I went through a long period where I don't know. I wasn't getting any replies to my job applications. I wasn't making things work the way I wanted it to work. And so slowly I started stepping farther and farther back until I did start getting some callbacks and some emails and stuff like that. But that was a really dark time in my post transition. And it happens because we kind of lose our way. We don't have the mission. We don't have our support network. We don't have any of that stuff. And what happens when you lose that stuff? Some people just, they're able to find their group. Some people, they just pull back and I don't know. I don't know another way to say it other than that they lose it.
And it starts with something that I talked about last month was, we all say, oh yeah, we're going to stay in touch. We're going to be friends. And then you leave. And then after about month 2, everybody else in the military, they're still doing their things. They're still going off to training. They're still doing everything. And you're no longer a part of that club. So now you're like, okay, well, what's next? Because that was my life.
Yeah.
And that's when you have to find that new club. And one of the things I always say is, military attracts each other like magnets in the private sector. We really find each other in the private sector, but you've got to be looking and you've got to be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the mannerisms, the phrases, the certain telltale signs that somebody was in the military, we know what to look for by just talking to somebody and saying, oh, when were you in? Or where were you? I'll give you a perfect example of this was I was at Costco this past weekend with the kids getting lunch, and I saw a guy with a KIA bracelet on. So naturally I asked him, I was like, oh, where'd you go? Or where, something along those lines of what all expenses paid exotic vacation did you get? And he said, oh, it's for my friends. And I just kind of left it there because I was like, does that mean that he was never in? Does that mean that he was in and just didn't deploy? Does that mean that, there's so many gray areas there, but I knew what the bracelet meant to know what to ask.
Yeah. Right. And it's easy. The moment so I always talk about a time when I was over at the auto parts store and I asked them, and I knew the answer already, but I always ask as if I don't know if they have a military discount because they always have a 10% discount. And somebody from across the counter, as soon as I said that, out of nowhere, he's like, well, I don't ever get a doggone discount. And I said, oh, well, where did you? And, as soon as you know that somebody else is a veteran, whether it's a bracelet, a hat, a mannerism, a phrase that they say, them just acknowledging that I love my shirt because my shirt says Army, but whatever the case may be, then it instantly sparks up something in your mind, and you're like, I got to connect with that person. I bet you we've done some of the same stuff.
Well, I think to your point, it's the shared hardship. That's why we are attracted to each other. We speak that lingo. We have a shared hardship. Even if we didn't serve together, we understand. We understand what we've all been through, the commonalities, what we experienced, and that's an instant bond, that shared hardship. And that's a big identity for us while we're serving, was that identity. And like Trevor said earlier, it's literally when you leave that unit or the mission or the military as a whole, it keeps going on without you, and you're just no longer part of the club. You're the outcast.
Yeah. I've been told that in SOCOM, they're the worst offenders of that, because everybody's important, but then the moment you step out, you're PNG'd. Nobody cares, because everybody else still has the same mission to do, and you're no longer a part of that mission, so you're no longer valuable to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same it's to a lesser extent, I think it's the same in the conventional forces too.
Mm-hmm.
But we all talk about, like, how do you identify those people around you? They're wearing the loud shirts. They're wearing the polos that say Army on them because they love their shirts.
That say 80 Deuce on
it. Well, that's a fantastic shirt to wear.
It is.
But the point being, though, is that it really is the mannerisms, the haircut, the way somebody walks, the way that when you're talking to them, you can kind of tell whether they were in by the mannerisms in the conversation, because there's just certain ways that the military breaks you down and rebuilds you up to be a human being.
Mm-hmm.
So when that's taken away, though, it can get really lonely really fast. We've had conversations before where even if you get a job right away and you're surrounded by a bunch of people, it can be a very lonely time, because you will say things and people look at you like you're crazy, and then they're less likely to approach you, or maybe you're less likely to approach them. And then you go home and you're like, well, I don't have anybody to talk to. I'll just turn on the TV. I'll start playing this video game. I'll talk to the dogs. I don't know, whatever it is that you do. But you start slowly becoming more and more detached from that social muscle that we need to exercise, but we don't get the opportunity to do it because we feel, I don't know, icky.
But here's where that challenge comes in. It's, I can't confirm that you've said this before, but I'd be willing to bet you have, JJ, that growth comes from discomfort.
Sure.
That when we were in the military, it was forced friendships. I didn't like certain people that I served with, but when push came to shove, we're all there pushing the same boulder up the same hill. Whether you like it or not, that's the person to the left or right of you.
That's right.
When you go into the private sector, everything is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You're not under contract to be there, punishable by law if you leave. And what you have to do is you have to figure out where are my people in this private sector, and you have to adapt to an environment that already exists.
Mm-hmm.
We're not used to that, because when you go from unit to unit, yes, you're going into a new ecosystem, but it's forced friendship. You get in there, you're an NCO, you're a part of the NCO crew, you're an officer, you're a part of the officer. I don't know what they do, but the idea is
PowerPoint.
Yeah. You're a part of them sitting on the computer, but the idea is that you're forced into those systems.
Yeah.
In the private sector, you can choose. Do I want to be friends with Steve from finance, or do I want to be friends with John from logistics? And that's an uncomfortable place to be, because now you've got to go out there and figure out who has something in common with me. Whereas before it was sat down right in front of me and said, these are your friends.
Yeah. Well, and when you transition from the military, it's not like when you're in. If you go to a duty station, you're supposed to have a sponsor, or sometimes you just have somebody that you follow around because you find that they're doing the same things that you need to do every day. If you go to a foreign country, maybe not you, I think you went to your duty station and didn't know what the hell you were doing, but
I still don't know what I'm doing. What are you talking about?
but you know, when you go to Germany or Korea, you have the culture training, and when you go to downrange and you deploy to Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, any of the places that you might go, Africa or whatever, you know, you learn what the local culture is so that you're not flapping in the wind. And the military attempts that when you go out of the civilian world by putting you through the TAP program, but it focuses so much on getting you that next job with the DOL handbook, which I'm not sure that's all. I don't understand that still, because that never actually helped me at all. But when you go in, you don't have that training, and you don't have that opportunity to learn how to kind of get yourself fit in to whatever you're going into. You have to find a job, and then when you go into that job, you have to ask all the questions and figure out what the culture is, instead of that the Army values are going to be where you're at, that the Marine Corps values are going to be where you're at, so on and so forth, and
They're supposed to be there. They're supposed to be there.
Yes.
Let's clarify the reality.
Well, but at the end of the day, when you go to sergeant's time training, when you go to NCOPD, you go to WOPD, you go to OPD, I mean, you have people speaking a very similar language in almost everything that you do at every duty station that you attend. That you don't get that when you get out, and so everything is so foreign. And at a certain point, you just start banging your head against the wall, and either you figure it the hell out, or you don't. And when you don't figure it out, that's when the isolation happens, and it sends people to a very dark place. There's a statistic that's out there of a certain number of people per day that don't figure it out, and they pay the ultimate sacrifice for it. But this is an important conversation to have, because we have to bring this to everyone's attention. The civilian world, they don't mean to make us feel out of place, but we are out of place, and we got to figure out how to change that.
Well, I think the big thing is it's when you enter the military, no matter what stage of your life you're in, when you enter the military, there's a ground zero thing that happens where this is your new culture, this is your new training, this is your new life, right? And it starts from day one, whether you go the enlisted route, even if you go the OCS route, you go to an academy, right? There's still a base level that they baseline every single person at, and it goes from there. The thing is, we don't have that on the back end. I was fortunate that I actually did this skill bridge in a career skills program. So I got that kind of assimilation my last 6 months in the service, where I was able to start learning corporate America from the safety of the service still, right? I was still I'm still getting that. But my job at that point was literally go work and intern for this company to start assimilating and understanding civilian life. It was almost, dare I say, a basic training for my new role, my next portion of life, my next chapter. And I think that is where the disservice comes, because many people in their service, I dare I say 98%, don't get that opportunity. And they're working up till that very last day when they sign that 214 or they go on terminal leave. And that does not do them justice. Even if they had 60 days, not a lot's going to happen in that 60 days where they're trying to figure out, this is a whole new battlefield for me. This is a whole new arena I have little to no experience in. And they're expected to just, hey, figure it out. You got this, dude. Good luck. And that's not fair.
But that's where that discomfort comes in, because I remember my first full-time job outside of the military. I was working for a company that's no longer in business, in their corporate office, and the corporate office was on top of our flagship store. And I started talking to the store manager one day, just because, you work in the corporate office for retail, you kind of want to learn a little bit about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking to the store manager, and he's like, "Oh, you got out of the military recently?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, I'm retired first sergeant. And I automatically knew from then on, okay, this is the person I go to for my questions about life. And and I distinctly remember this. There was one day I was so frustrated because everyone around me was just not doing what they were supposed to do. And it baffled me. I was like, how is this possible that everybody around me just doesn't understand what they're supposed to be doing? Like, it's so simple. And I went and I talked to him, and I was like, "Bobby, what's going on here?" And he's like, this is what it's like outside. You have to get used to the fact that, you know, there's free will, there's free choice. People don't do everything that they need to do. And that lifeline to him is what helped me transition. And it took that courage to be able to say, I'm okay putting myself in an uncomfortable position to ask for help of how do I adapt to the civilian world. And I think a lot of vets don't want to do that because there's somebody I listen to, and he said, we talk all the time about your friends are there for you. And then what's the next thing that everyone always says about what happens with their friends? I don't want to be the burden to them. And this person was saying, be the burden. I wouldn't make the offer to be there for you if I didn't take that burden from you. And what we don't realize is it's not a burden if they're people that actually care about you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we all forget because we're in that self-preservation mode of, I want to get through this. But, you know, I know for a fact I've called you, JJ, a couple of times, and you're like, hey, call me when you got problems. And I know I can.
Yep.
John will just ignore my call.
That's because he was the first sergeant.
I see that thing and I was like, oh, it's not a sheriff's office? Nah.
It's a Fayetteville number? Why would I want to answer that?
Fayetteville? Gross. Like
Well, and you know, I think everybody out there would like to do something to help the veterans out when they see them, you know, not doing well, but you know, they don't know when, they don't know how. I mean, for you guys, I mean, we all have a different opinion. I don't mind if somebody just comes up and starts talking to me. That's not a big deal at all. I might not approach people if I've had a weird interaction with them or something like that, unless I absolutely need something in that moment. Especially if I feel like, you know, I don't think that person probably wants to be around me. But I found that that's kind of a lot of people in the civilian world when you come from the military. So how do you approach somebody, and what are some of the signs that somebody might display when they're starting to show the signs of isolation, and how would you approach that from a civilian perspective, seeing somebody who might be isolating in the workplace?
Well, I wouldn't even know where to begin on that one, just because I don't, you know, in my current position, I don't necessarily deal with people per se on a day-to-day basis. But one of the things that I would turn that around on is, are you passively looking for people? And when you see somebody that's exhibiting something, talk to them. Like, you know, like I said on Sunday, when I saw the guy with the black bracelet, with the KIA bracelet, I just decided to try and strike up a conversation just to say, I noticed that. Yeah.
Honestly, though, you have to know the people, right? You have to kind of understand what they're about, just because some people just might be an off day for them. They might just be swamped. Others could just be like, hey, listen, it's the event of the KIA bracelet. Like, this may be a time for them where they're near that time, and they're just like, hey, you know, I just want to kind of be left alone right now. So, you know, there's signs to it, but you got to have an understanding, and you got to know. I don't think it's right that you should just be going up like, you're right, dude, you know, because pretty soon then you fall into that trap of you're calling people guy, and what are you doing high speed, and right, and it could be flipped in the wrong mannerism. So it's just very, you play it with tact, you play it with skill. But you know, as we open this, it is about, we usually do find each other. We usually are magnets to each other when we start talking. So you kind of build that rapport, you build that trust, you build that friendship, and you're able to kind of start discerning, like, all right, Trevor's just having a one-off day, or Trevor, you've been poopy butt diaper face this whole week. What is going on? And he's like, well, you know, I kicked my dog and my cat scratched my face, and you know.
Now I know you're making stuff up, because I don't have a dog and my cat doesn't have claws.
So yeah, because the dog ran away and he got so tired of getting scratched that he cut the claws off.
The cat
Hey, we
came
go
that
way
way.
back here.
Yeah, we go back 5 minutes ago.
You know what I mean?
Don't destroy our
but-
fawn.
But to the isolation piece, here's one that I've found that really is, I'll call it life-changing because that's what it is reaching out to people through social media. You know, through LinkedIn, because that's how all three of us met, is through LinkedIn. And those I was referred over to, I go back to this because I don't remember how I got to this guy, but I was on the phone with him and we both were at two different places at the same time and probably passed each other in the hallway both times. Never knew the other one existed, but here I am having a conversation with the guy on the phone.
Mm.
You know, we miss out on the social part of social media because everyone associates all the negativity with it, but there's tons of positivity if you use it the right way.
Sure.
Sure.
And that's a great way to think of it from a professional angle. But, there's also, if you go to places like TikTok, for example, I don't know if you know this, but there is a huge network of military veterans that do lives, and they bring a whole bunch of other people into a room and they chat. And you start finding who's local, who's not, and then before you know it, you have a nationwide and a local network, and that's just from turning on your phone and talking. And
there's also tons of local groups that aren't the VFW and the American Legion, and say what you want about the stereotypes of those groups, but like I know here in Kentucky, there's a Kentucky Veterans Club where they do local events. Side note to that is the guy who founded it wound up going to jail because he was getting paid by the nonprofit while either 100%, while TDIU or unemployable at 100%. I don't know which one, but he was collecting money as a payment while running the charity. But the idea though is that we look at the only places I can go as a vet are the VFW and the DAV and a handful of other big name organizations. But Wounded Warrior has events if you're post 9/11, there's tons of local groups where if you want that human local community feel, you can go to events. And I guarantee you that if you're into something, there is a group that does that.
Yep.
That's legal.
Well, and you don't even have to. So let's not just say that you have to find your veteran tribe only. Say
No.
you like biking, say you like hiking, say you like shooting. There are plenty of ways to be social and connect with people who are either just as goofy, just as stupid, just as whatever as you are, that do similar things to what you do on a regular basis anyway. Or if you don't do it, things that you would do if you had people to do them with because you did them on active duty. Yeah.
I'll throw something else out too. And I'm literally wearing it right now. And that is, if you went to a college, find people that are from that college, or if you're a huge fan of a college or a sports team, find those fan clubs in town, because you don't have to surround yourself with military when you get out, if that's the choice you make, but find those things that you're interested in and go find somebody else that's interested in it too.
Yeah. Common ground is really, really important.
I think that's beautiful. And actually perfect to your point, JJ and Trevor. It's literally, we all have hobbies in and out of the military. Some people really like their motorcycles. Some people like skydiving. Some people like golf, right? And you can find those clubs. And even better, if you kind of get the best of both worlds of it. One thing I've always tried to be, I don't want to say standoffish of, but, I've been trying to make sure I don't get myself into these military veteran cliques and totally forget about the outside with the similar people who enjoy the same activities I do, because that stuff is fun, right? Some people are really into airsoft, and oh man, been to a few of those, and that gets intense, and it gets pretty fun with those.
But also think about it this way. I go back to this because I did a Wounded Warrior event for laser tag, and you'd have all the adults running around trying to build teams, trying to do all the tactical stuff, and then you had the kids running around just going buck wild. Guess who was shooting guess who was getting the most kills?
The kids.
Oh yeah. And we look at the military as, oh, this is my tribe. But at the same time, you're going to assimilate to civilian life, whether you like it or not. why not find those people who have the common ground around you and compare notes on what do I know that you don't know, and same thing, because, you know, I want to, you know, you want to go learn how to, you want to go shooting. Military taught you a lot of fundamentals and a lot of things one way. You go shooting with the guy who grew up in the backwoods, he's going to teach you some stuff you've never seen before.
Probably not the right way.
But
I don't know if it's worked for Cletus for 80 years.
exactly. And that's where you build those skill sets of the cross-referencing of skills, because, you know, Cletus over here, Kentucky windage is a real thing. We all know it. We all know what it is, and that's how Cletus dials in his aim. If you take your basic marksmanship skills and teach Cletus a little bit more about how to refine his Kentucky windage, and then he teaches you how Kentucky windage works, maybe you're going to spend less time zeroing because you know how to adjust on the fly versus having to dial in your optic to the exact right spot.
Yeah. And I think we're moving into a really good place here, because this is messaging for those people who are probably isolating right now. And you know, if you are isolating right now, you need to dig yourself out of a hole. I don't mean to be unsensitive here, but there's no sense in just sticking to yourself and saying it's safer to be alone. It's not. I hate to say it. No matter how much you think you are equal opportunity and you hate everybody, humans are gregarious creatures. We need social interaction to survive. I mean, why do you think that Trevor and I started talking? Why do you think John and I started talking? It's because we got ourselves out there. I'm not one of those people that likes to be out in public all the time. I'm really not. I like the sanctity of my own home, and I like to kind of keep to myself, but I also need that time that where I'm out about, you know, smoking and joking with people I've never met before, and being a little bit stupid. Maybe I like to do leadership training because that's something that I've spent a lot of time investing my education into while I was serving in the military and a little bit after. But, you know, these are all things that I'm interested in, and I need people around me in order to keep myself sharp. And from, you know, I did gain quite a bit of weight at one point. I'm still losing that, but that's all the things that happen when you start to isolate. So you got to get yourself out of that funk. You're going to start having health problems. You're going to start becoming grumpy, which we are anyway. That's okay.
I mean, that's just a
little
given.
bit grumpy. Yeah, that's a given. But I mean, it's going to get worse. You're going to be a very sore, frustrated individual who lets their disabilities and everything else start taking over their entire body. And you don't want to let yourself get to that point. So go out there and do something about it.
Yeah,
well, you hit on something.
Don't define you. They do not define you, and your friends out of that hole should not be Liquid, Jack, Jim, or Jose, because that's only going to make it worse. I'm not saying don't enjoy a beverage from time to time with them, but if that is your go-to friendship while you're in isolation, that's the wrong friendship, and it's only going to get darker.
To that point, when there was a point where I went through a really dark period, and one of the things I said from the very beginning was, I'm not touching anything to drink during this period, because I had seen in the military people's careers be ruined over dumb decisions with alcohol. And, you know, that was something that I made it a point to be like, until I feel comfortable with my own skin, I didn't touch a drop. And, you know, one of the things that I think that we're missing here too is, JJ kind of touched on it, but it's fitness. You know, we all say, when I get out of the military, I'm never going to run again because I don't have to. Great. You don't have to run. You can go walk. You can go do anything to be physically active, because there's something about when you're active, your mind is sharper, your body is healthier. There's a lot of science around that, and I'm working on getting somebody from my show about it. But the thing is work within your disabilities, whatever they may be, physical, or in my case, mental. You know, we'll work within those, but figure out a way to be active a little bit while you're out, because because I remember I said, when I get out, I'm never running again. Because if you've been in airborne units, you know how much we like to jog and run and pride ourselves on destroying our knees.
That's every unit. I hate to say it. That's every unit.
Well, yeah. But I get out, and 6 months later, what am I doing? I'm out on the streets running in a training mask.
Because he's crazy. My fitness is I'm fitting this bag of M&Ms in my gut.
I prefer physical fitness as well.
Look at that. Actually, here's something, guys, and this is literally what I do. So I do a lot of work from home stuff. I have a standing desk at my house. I can raise and lower. Got it at Best Buy for $100. I bought a walking treadmill off Amazon for $100. I can get my step ins while I'm doing shows like this or just typing up a memo or whatever the case. There are cheap and creative ways to go about doing it. I get it. Some of you do have desk jobs and you work a lot. So find those alternatives. There's even those little sitting bike pedals you can do. Something to keep that motion going.
I'm using one right now. I'm using one of those bike things. And to the other point, I have a smartwatch that's not an Apple Watch. It's of course, because it's me, it's got to be fancy. It's French.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
It's
what
a
it
baguette.
is, yes, it is. But what it does though is it tells me if I'm too sedentary, and then it vibrates to tell me, hey, get your ass up and move. And there's even a new screen. There's even a new extension. I think it's on Chrome, where if you're on your computer or if you're on social media for 45 minutes, a giant orange fat cat comes across your screen and blocks your screen, and you can't get it off for 5 minutes to force you to get up and move.
Or you just do what my camera does and just goes blurry. So people don't want to look at you.
Nobody does.
I think your family just sends your cat in your room whenever you've been sitting back there too long.
My family or just the cat does?
Or maybe just the cat does. It knows. It just
She
knows.
comes down.
The cat is spiteful if you took away the claws.
I did not do that. We adopted her that way.
Sure. Got to find something to torture. Poor cat.
Poor cat.
I do not torture animals.
Everyone's going to be reporting, Trevor's an animal abuser, kicked his dog.
I'm going to start getting FBI knocks at my door going, we have reason to believe that you're going to be a serial killer.
The next Michael Myers.
I mean, he's thinking about it. You see that?
Well, and another idea too is we all keep some sort of vessel for liquid at our desk. Don't get the biggest jug you can possibly get to sit there to keep you at your desk longer. Have a smaller one so you have to get up constantly to refill it.
Mine's green.
Because you love the Army.
Because I love the
We've
Army.
established this. But I mean, that's one
I drink from a
strategy that
mason
I've
jar.
found.
Because you're a hillbilly.
Are we sure that's water? Are we sure that's water?
Well, you notice he had the black mug earlier for the non-water activities.
All right. Well, I'm just going to let this go now because I don't
Right there. See?
See, it says
Who put you in charge?
Exactly. So the bottom line is, find your tribe, whatever that may be. Obviously, if you're struggling during your transition, not everybody does. We talk about isolation like every transitioning service member goes through that. They don't. Some people have a really successful transition and it's not a big deal at all. But if you're struggling, whether it's during your transition or later on in life, and you find yourself in some sort of a slump that you're having a hard time getting out of, find your tribe. Find somebody who is has gone through the same thing that you're going through, and ask them how they got out of it, how they were able to snap out of it. If there's a certain job you would like to do, if there's a certain activity that you would like to get back to, there are people that went from being fat and lazy to being marathon runners. There are people that went from having surgery and having a really difficult time even being on their feet to riding a bike or going hiking. I mean, whatever your interests are, there's no slump that you can't get out of, because there's somebody who has been through it that's willing to help you get out of it. But you have to go out there and look for them. And that's the getting comfortable, being uncomfortable thing that Trevor was talking about earlier. And yes, I do say that all the doggone time.
And there's one other thing too that we're forgetting is we're talking about just transition. this happens at all points in everybody's life.
Yep.
And it's not exclusive to us veterans. It's exclusive to every human being.
Every human being.
And the idea is when you start seeing yourself dragging down, whatever it is that you're doing on your own, go find people that do that same thing. It's, if you're into fitness, go, like if you're a garage gym or a home gym person, go get a gym membership for a month just to be able to go out and meet gym bros or gym girls that are of your proper persuasion, not to go hit on people. But I mean, go find the
hit on
people.
JJ. JJ would love you to hit on him in the gym.
Well,
Yes.
JJ's got to be in the gym first.
Yeah, not my home gym. Not my home gym.
I'm going to his home gym. That's my favorite one.
Hey, the home gym is where you can wear whatever you want and nobody judges you.
Maybe your spouse.
Right.
Well,
Right.
Your spouse, though, she's going to judge, at least mine will judge me regardless of what I do. So I might as well give her a reason to do it.
I think once you've been married a certain amount of time, to keep things fun, you have to pick on your spouse, especially when your kids are getting older and they don't want anything to do with you anymore. You got to find somebody to pick on. That I'm not saying that it always turns out well for you,
Well,
but that doesn't mean you don't do it.
and that's another thing to touch on too, is that if you have a spouse and you're going through this, you're not going through it alone. You have
No.
somebody to talk to and bounce ideas off of, because odds are your spouse is probably smarter than you in a lot of ways.
Uh-huh.
And they see things you don't because they're not you.
Yeah.
When you're too close to a problem, you only see the flaws, you don't see the benefits.
Yeah.
And the idea is, even if you're not married or have a spouse or kids, just somebody around you to be like, hey, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Because I've seen this happen where I'm going through a slump. I call up someone else. They're doing the exact same thing I am. Someone else, yeah, that's just going around everybody I know right now. But at least I know, okay, it's not just me. Everyone's feeling this. So let's figure out together, how do we get through this, and compare notes of what have you done that works or what have you done that doesn't work.
Right. Well, and especially targeting the veterans, but not just veterans. This kind of goes to everybody. I did a talk on this yesterday at an organization that I won't say. If you look on my profile, you'll see who it was. But I mean, I had a conversation about ownership. Wherever you are in your journey, you got to likely, if it's not going the way you want it to go, don't look out, look in, or go in the bathroom and look in the mirror, because there's always something that you're doing wrong that's causing you to be in the situation that you're in. And even if you didn't cause that thing, then likely it's going to take you doing something different to snap out of it. And if you blame the process, if you blame
Hey,
your
the
wife,
process is never the problem.
What's
The
that?
process is never the problem.
That's true. I'm sorry. I forgot.
Why
No,
the DMV is efficient.
but you guys know what I'm talking about. This is you have to take ownership of your journey. And if you just sit on your butt and let things happen to you, instead of going out there and tackling things, grabbing the bull by the horns and doing what you got to do to pull yourself out of it, then you're never going to get out of it what you need.
We all know that person who nothing is ever their fault. It's always someone else's.
Yep.
They're always
Shut up.
They're always the person who's been wronged.
Mhm.
And when you look at someone and when you're talking to that person and they're telling you about how everybody else did something that caused them pain, and you look at them and say, well, what's the common denominator in every one of these stories? And then they realize, I'm the common denominator. You kind of get that light bulb moment of, maybe I need to change something.
Yeah.
Because when it's always everyone else, odds are you're just projecting it outward rather than looking inward.
Yeah.
Most of the time that is. And actually there is one choice we all get. And you've probably heard this from everyone and their mom or people on TikTok or whatever, but there's truth to it. Like no matter what's going on in life, you do get to choose how you respond to it or react to it or at least feel about it,
Yep.
right? Those of you who live on the East Coast or pretty much anywhere now, you drive on the freeway, especially during rush hour, road rage is a thing, right? But you could also choose to, I'm sitting in traffic, right? I can be angry all day, get my blood pressure up, but it's not making my car go any faster. It's not getting me through this traffic any faster. What?
I literally had this conversation with someone the other day that they sent me some messages about them getting in an argument with someone on social media in the comment section. And they asked me, what do I think? I'm like, I think you're a moron because, and I've had this conversation with this person multiple times. And I finally got to the point where I turned into a jerk about it. I was like, look, I'm being a jerk right now because you need to hear this, that having these arguments on social media, you are doing two things. You are feeding the other person's algorithm because the more you come at them, they're looking at that as that's free engagement. I'm going to respond knowing you're coming right back at me. And then the second part is you're getting yourself worked up while the other person isn't
Probably
even
laughing about it.
caring. They don't care.
Yep.
So, and I explain this to them and the person's like, oh, I know. I'm like, then what are you doing about it? Because you've done this. I've seen you have this conversation with me multiple times and I tell you the same thing. And now I'm turning into a jerk about it and not being professional and friendly about it because you've got a lot of other, because he's got a lot, or this person has a lot of other things going on in their life. And I was like, you of all people should have more perspective of this thing is not, this is becoming a problem for you rather than anything, rather than you causing a problem for someone else.
That's right.
And
Well-
the trolls exist. There are just people out there who are going to troll just because they want to get you worked up and they find amusement out of it.
Oh, most
Exactly. And
Having a brother.
but I mean, but the point being though was that he was being that troll without even realizing it.
Well, I study a lot of Stoic philosophy because I feel like there's so much to be learned there. And it focuses a lot on not what happens around you, but how you respond to it. And it goes over, I mean, whether it's Epictetus or Marcus Aurelius or whoever it is, that's what they focus on is being strong, and strong people don't worry about all these external factors. They worry about what they can do about them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can focus on that in your own personal life and cut out all the noise, then likely for one, you'll be less stressed. But two, you're going to be a lot more successful because you're not focusing on a bunch of dumb stuff.
And the other thing I told this person was I highlighted, hey, I am by no means perfect in any of this. I was shouting at customer service for something last week. But the difference is that I was shouting at customer service because the problem was directly impacting me.
Right.
Nobody else. It was my problem. And I needed the customer service agent to understand how to fix it and what we needed to do about it. And I also spent 3 hours on the phone between three different people.
So you mean you just don't like being on the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting mad at me and JJ for just kicking you back and forth between the two of us.
You have to respond to kick me back.
I did.
John.
I forwarded the call to JJ.
But the point being though is that those two examples, arguing over the internet, you can get frustrated about it, but it accomplishes nothing.
No.
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting upset about something that directly impacts you, that's at least a little bit more rational because it's impacting you and your life. Whereas the internet and social media, we talked before about the positives, that's the negative and dark side of it is you get sucked into this place where there's only losers. There's no winner in arguing over the internet.
Well, and it doesn't matter what it is. If it is truly, truly, truly affecting you, whether you handle it in a positive or a negative way, it is your responsibility to handle it and figure out a way out of it. Now, obviously, dealing with customer service and people billing you for things they shouldn't be billing you for, that's always going to be something that makes you want to, put your fist through a computer or phone or whatever the case may. But at the end of the day, every situation is going to frustrate you. And
Mm-hmm.
every situation could cause you to say, I don't want to deal with that. But when things are truly important, you deal with it. And I'm
But
not
there's
talking about
also-
customer service. I'm talking about getting yourself out of whatever funk you're in right now. You got to get yourself out of it. What's the common phrase that we used to always tell our subordinates in the military? Nobody cares about you more than you. So make sure you're squaring yourself away, because chances are nobody's coming to save you.
Well, and the other thing to think about too is, as we talk about isolation and that kind of thing and personal problems, realize what actually is a real problem versus a manufactured thing.
Oh, 90%.
Or a
is
perceived
manufactured.
one.
Well,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's an inconvenience and then there's problems. Like
Yep.
if you're driving and I used to get road rage like no other, but then I started figuring it out that, hey, that person cut me off. Okay, I can think of it one of two ways. Either that person's intentionally a jerk and wanted to cut me off and do all the go down that spiral, or I could just say, hey, maybe they didn't see me, or maybe there's something going on in their lives right now where they're having one of the worst days of their life and they need to get somewhere, or somebody needs them somewhere, and me causing a scene is going to make it worse for them.
Yeah.
So which route is going to make my life better? Chasing them down, honking at them, cutting them off again and making it a scene, or just letting them go about their day and whatever happens, it's not my problem.
Or if you really want to add insult to injury, instead of flipping them off, give them a thumbs down.
No, give them a thumbs up.
I give them a thumbs down. I just go.
But if you give them
they look so confused. They're like, what? I get road rage. I get road rage. That's why. So,
but if
Trevor
you give
just
them a
gets out of
thumbs
his
up,
car
it's
and
even
starts
more
dancing.
confusing.
Yeah.
But if you give them a thumbs up, it's even more confusing because they wronged you egregiously, and you're saying, "Good job."
no, that could be taken threateningly.
I just turn up my music.
Cotton Eye Joe. If it's not
Sure.
Cotton Eye Joe, it's not worth turning up.
Yeah, that's a good one. Sure. Black Betty.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. That one's acceptable.
I've actually watched way too many YouTube documentaries on the history of Black Betty.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That gets interesting.
And in
You
fact,
know what else?
if you're isolated right now, that might be a good YouTube series that you need to look up right now.
Well, you know what else is a really fascinating there's a 45-minute documentary on the history of Blue from Eiffel 65 about how they came up with that whole song and the hook and everything. Like it's mind-blowing just how many things stars aligned right to make that the hit that it was. And still is.
Okay.
It still is. It is. I mean,
my kids like it.
Yeah. It's a good one. Well, we're at the point in the show, because I have a call in a few minutes, that we probably need to do our closing comments for everybody. I'm sorry. What'd you say, John?
So we're at the point of the show where Trevor's going to dance.
No, no.
You're not going to do the chicken dance for us there, Trevor?
Nope.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Why is it me?
Well, because JJ's the singer.
What are you?
I'm moral support.
He's the first sergeant. He guides
You're not the
everybody in
comic
right
relief.
direction.
If I know that.
I'm the supervisor.
Supervisor.
JJ's Cup says he's the supervisor, though.
The shit show supervisor.
Yeah, but this isn't a shit show. This is just discharged and disgruntled.
Just charging up the yes. So, does anybody want to give a closing comment before we cut this out?
Yeah, I'll go for one, and that is just start working on figuring out who your people are before you need them. And when someone says, "Hey, give me a call if you need something," believe them at their word that that's what they mean, and don't interpret that and project that to be, oh, this person doesn't want to help me when I'm having a bad day. Because you know what? When they're having a bad day, they might pick up the phone and call you after you've done it once.
True.
You know, we kind of have to, we like to test our friends out to see if they're valuable or not valuable. And if you're the first person that calls and says, "Hey, I'm having a bad day," next time that friend is having a bad day, they feel comfortable calling you because you've done that uncomfortable part first.
Yeah. Well, yeah, don't be proud. Don't be proud.
Or,
John?
or take pride in yourself and actually, reach out, talk to someone, just say, hey, it goes a long way. And even that social media message, whether Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, doesn't matter. Send the message, just connect with someone and just say, hey man, do you mind if I have something on my mind? And you'd be amazed. And you could even do it with those clubs, right? It doesn't even have to be another veteran. You hit that motorcycle club. Actually, I think those are some of the best groups right there, right? Is people who are into their motorcycles and they find their little clubs. They're like a brotherhood, veteran or not. And you can find groups like that in any kind of walk of life and any kind of activity, sport, things that are outside the house. And or for some of you younger ones out there, even video games, right? There are huge friendships that happen in COD lobbies. So just find it and open up.
And home gyms are my hobby, which is the weirdest thing to say. There is an entire ecosystem of people that do this stuff as their hobby and nerd out over the dumbest stuff humanly possible. And you find, you think motorcycle people are passionate about their bikes, talk to home gym people.
Oh yeah.
But what I'm getting at though is that when you join these clubs, it's called fanatic for a reason, whether it's sports, whether it's a hobby, whatever it is. And it's because odds are those people that are into that enjoy talking about it and enjoy the people that are around it. And even if you're having a rough go of it, just going to one of those groups and talking about something else, inevitably you're going to open up to something deeper than just talking about your gear.
Yeah.
It will happen. It does. And it's natural.
Yep. I guess my closing comment for all of this would be yes to everything that the other guys have said, but also, own your journey. If you don't like where you're at and things are starting to look more and more dark every day, do something about it. Talk to somebody.
Start at Walmart. Start at Walmart.
After 11 o'clock at night.
Well, hey, if you start at Walmart, the greeter, odds are they're a veteran.
Oh yeah. There are a lot of yes. And you know what? That was always a running joke when we were serving in the military. When I get out of the military, I'm going to go be a greeter at Walmart.
Or go to Home Depot or Lowe's, wherever. Go to
Lowe's. Actually, my UPS driver out here is prior service.
Really?
Yeah.
But I mean, but the thing is that the other part that I want to leave everyone with is you don't have to be the same person you were in uniform, out of uniform.
And you shouldn't.
This is the only time in your life as an adult that you get to completely reinvent yourself. You can go by your middle name. You can go by a made up nickname that you gave yourself and no one will know, because odds are you're leaving most of your military life behind you. You really are. Whether you want to or not, it's going to happen. So reinvent yourself in a person that you're comfortable with, so that when you start meeting people, hey, I'm Steve. And then someone from the military runs into you and goes, John, what's going on? And you're like, oh, I'm Steve now. And they go, okay, I'll go with this, but we'll figure out why later.
Wrong with it.
Scuba Steve.
Exactly. But I mean, that's the thing is, don't be afraid to reinvent yourself and figure out something new and be a different person than you were in uniform. It's encouraged, it's acceptable, and it's actually the right thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Okay. Well, that was a great episode. Thank you for everybody who has tuned in. Whether you commented or not, we didn't really get too many comments. It was some weird stuff from Twitch, it looks like. But thank you for tuning in. We're in the future. We're going to be trying to bring on guests. So if you are a veteran or even a civilian that has some insight in any important topic that relates to a veteran transitioning into civilian life, reach out to one of us. We'd like to talk to you, maybe even bring you on as a guest. And we're going to be having some more detailed conversation from the experts.
And all of us, our DMs are open.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Be careful DMing Trevor. Just kidding.
Hey, I'm professional in other places.
Giggity.
Well, professional-ish. Professional-ish.
All right. All right, everybody. Thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you all next time.
See you next
See
time.
ya.